It's the same agenda, I imagine.
Yeah, I did.
Just in a hard copy in case you hadn't printed.
I gotta print off anything anyway. I can never open the email I get from the town.
Having that problem.
That's the number for Snows Mountain Road that we keep getting asked. That was the
We are?
final number when the work.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hello, it is,
I gotta print off any.
nope. Are we good? Yep. So it is 5 PM on Thursday, 21 December 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Select Board of Waterville Valley. And this is our last meeting for 2023, at least as a regular meeting. And I don't know, as you get older, time seems to move more quickly. That was a quick year. So, and that just proves Einstein is right. Time is relative.
Time is relative.
I'm not sure he meant it the way I'm talking about it, but it's all relative. Okay, so why don't we move along here? I'm Rich Rita, the chair of the board. Here today is Vice Chair Bob Freeze and Select Board Member Wendy Rathgeber. So we have a quorum. I see some folks in the audience here, actually live people. Anybody here for privilege of the floor? Or are you here for an agenda item?
Am I, so?
You're on the agenda.
Oh,
You're
we're
on the agenda.
then. Okay.
Yeah,
On the agenda.
We're here to wish you a Merry Christmas.
thank you.
And a happy.
Yes. Okay, so I see nobody asking for privilege of the floor, so let's go to approval of minutes. We had looked at, I think, the 2 November and 6 November, both regular meeting minutes. We've made changes. Everybody happy with the minutes as are? Okay, so I will move that we accept the minutes as amended for 2 November and 6 November 2023.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, let's go over calendar review. Mark? Anything you'd like to add? So
No.
Pretty straightforward.
Straightforward. The trustees tomorrow at 1:30
right,
here. Your next regular meeting is January 4th at 3 PM. Workshop at 2:30.
No, we're gonna start the regular-
2:30.
no, 2:30, we're gonna start the
2:30.
regular meeting.
Regular
I
meeting.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just gotta get the
Right,
word out
Do
to
it
everybody.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All right. So that's 2:30, vice
2:30.
3 o'clock
Yeah.
for the start time of our next regular select board meeting.
And then the planning board on the 11th at 8.
Okay. And thereupon we'll follow the various budget bond presentations, public hearings of one form or another as we work
Right.
up to the March town meeting date.
Yep.
And the primary before that,
Mhm.
coming up on us quick, another month. Okay, so Mark, in lieu of department head reports, can you?
Town
provide
operations are right now all basically recovery.
Yeah, you can move right
Um,
into the storm
we're-
update if you
Yeah,
want to.
I think
Yeah.
that's the majority of everything that we're doing right now. Several areas in town experienced washouts. We are repairing roads first. So we've worked on Noon Peak. Noon Peak's Snows Mountain Road and Triple I Road were the 3 worst areas as far as roads are concerned. All of the repairs have been completed on Snows Mountain and Noon Peak. We still have work ongoing on Triple I, the last I knew.
Is that still closed?
It is still closed. The work that we're doing is being done both by our crew and by Piper Construction. They can just move more material. And they have a rubber tired excavator that they brought into town so that they don't
Keep
damage
the Forest
pavement.
Service, the pavement.
Well,
too.
pavement damage
Right.
to a minimum. We're really focused on getting all of these repairs done before it freezes too hard. And otherwise the drainage will be messed up all winter. Some of the repairs that we're making will have to go revisit in the spring to finish them up, reestablish grass or whatever the situation is. But we're getting them so that they drain correctly right now. Once we finish the roads, and I think they started today, Dylan, we had two serious washouts. One into well 3 and one in the connecting road, which it used to be called the connector trail.
Right, going up.
Behind
right.
River Road.
Yep.
Those were severely washed out. A lot of the cover was actually taken off 3 or 4 feet or more in some
Just gouged
spots.
right out.
Gouged right out by the Mad River.
On both sides? Going towards well 3 as well
Yeah,
as,
going towards well 3, it was the West Branch that jumped the bank
Right.
and then washed out the trail.
okay,
That trail is important. It's our only access to well 3, so we have to get that fixed as soon as possible, so that we can get vehicles down
Right.
into the well if we need.
But
to.
no impact on the well,
No impact on the well. It came very close to the well, maybe 2 feet, Dylan.
really.
Within 2 feet of the actual top of the well tile. itself.
Yeah, so very close to over flooding that well. The well 4 connector road behind River Road down along the river. There's probably 800 feet of trail that washed out severely. The important part of that is our water line from well 4 to the treatment building is in that trail. So we need to get that reestablished.
Coverage, yeah.
So the work plan, they're doing work now. They'll finish this week. They will get the base work done. And then the week after New Year's, they will come back and do the top
Week of New Year's.
week of New Year's, sorry.
what about out towards the Beaver Dam?
That wasn't affected.
That wasn't affected.
There wasn't?
No,
And the wellhead areas itself was not affected. And the other good thing, while it did flood around the treatment building and well building 2, they're just high enough that they were not affected at all either. So
So what about payment for this?
payment for this right now is coming out of the bottom line of the town
Mhm.
budget. We've estimated and we've already submitted our first estimate to Department of Homeland Security at the state. Senator Shaheen's office sent an email today saying that she has asked FEMA to issue the emergency declaration as quickly as possible because other towns are fixing their roads and everything as well, trying to beat the cold. So that has been submitted. And I guess Senator Shaheen and Governor Sununu went up to Pinkham Notch yesterday or today. Crawford Notch, sorry. They visited the Notch and they both have said that they will get FEMA to move as quickly as possible. So we have submitted an initial estimate of approximately $100,000 between the town crew and equipment and outside crews and equipment as our damages. So we're gonna make the repairs and it's a reimbursement system with FEMA. We're tracking time and that started Monday morning. And we're still tracking all of our personnel time that's attributable to the recovery operations. And then we submit to FEMA. They have a set form that we've used in the past and we'll do a reimbursement request to them for our expenses.
And
It's
so-
been my experience that if you have all of the documentation and the bills that you've paid, that if there's a declaration, an emergency declaration, that you get the majority or all of the money
Good.
that you
Good.
incur.
Yeah, so this is coming out of the roughly what, $170,000-$200,000 that we
Mhm.
projected we'd have as a
At the end of the
surplus
year.
the end
yeah.
of the year.
And then we'll hold it as a from an accounting standpoint, we'll hold it as a due from FEMA
Right.
into next year.
Right.
And
And
then
then that
get
gets,
reimbursed.
and then that gets put into the fund balance.
And then
at
that'll
the end
get
of
put
it.
into fund balance at the end. of the year.
Okay,
So, so far, everything's going well. Dylan, we've got all, both the water, sewer and public works departments are primarily concerned with that work right now. On top of that, we're trying to make sure that dumpsters are emptied before the weekend and everything's ready for the holiday time.
Right.
And then we can go from there.
just on the matter of dumpsters, before I forget, so this coming week, it's Saturday, not Sunday, that the transfer station is open, right?
Yeah, correct.
We don't have it specifically, do we have it specifically on our
We
schedule?
do on the website.
It's on the
And
website,
And it's
Right.
on the schedule
Right.
that I emailed to you
right?
yesterday.
So the next opening date is Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
Not Sunday
Get to-
and not Monday, and
Right.
then going back to Tuesday and Thursday,
Mhm.
a normal schedule for those
Yep.
2 days.
And it's the same the following week?
I
So-
will, let me get to it. I got it right here. And this information, if you go on to the town website, this information is on our calendar. So the calendar tab on the homepage of the town website, click on that and go into December and you'll see everything I'm gonna say now. So we are open we were open today. We are open on Saturday from 7:30 to 3. We are closed on Sunday and Monday,
Mhm.
Christmas Day, Monday. And then we are open on Saturday or Tuesday, the 26th at 8 AM to 6 PM.
Mhm.
Then we're open the 28th. And we are open on the 31st from 9 AM to 5 PM, Sunday, regular.
okay.
So it'll be
Sunday.
Sunday, we will do it on.
And
okay.
then we are going to be closed on New Year's, open on
And
Tuesday.
then
the
Tuesday,
2nd,
Thursday.
And then go back into our regular
Okay.
schedule. So, and then we have put all of the holiday weeks out on the calendar on the town website. So any of these modifications for the Monday holiday times,
Right,
we can talk about at a future board meeting, but
right.
they are available right now on the website.
Okey doke. Well, thanks for that digression. So anything else on the storm update? Is that? pretty much
No, I think
covered?
that's everything unless you have questions.
Other,
Other departments
Departmental.
know we're continuing with field training on our new public safety officer and recreation is getting ready they will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve, they'll be open, Christmas they'll be closed, and then they'll be running the rest of the week. And all of those dates and times for activities are on both the town website, the rec website, and then on all of our social media platforms as well.
any questions on storm update or department?
One question, did we measure how many inches of rain fell in Waterville?
Yeah, we got 5.5 inches of rain on Monday. Sunday night into Monday.
Within 20 hours,
Yeah, so I call it Irene Junior.
Yes.
not so junior.
But it was a very significant storm. Irene, just as a frame of reference, Irene, the last day of the Irene event, we got 7.5 inches, so the 5.5 was quite a lot. The issue was that we had probably 3 to 5 inches of frost. And if we have pictures of the connector trail, and it appears the water got underneath that frost and just took off the top layer and then started eroding.
Plus the snow melts.
And the snow melt added to the river levels,
Mhm.
so. Yeah, it was a significant event.
Are the stop logs back in the dam?
I don't,
We have not worked
think
on the
it's
dam
low.
yet.
It's very low,
The
yeah.
dam, the flash boards did activate on the dam, so the wooden boards folded down. So we're gonna have to actually remove stop logs, lower the level of the dam below the concrete. And then the guys will go out there and they'll take the metal rods out
Mhm.
and they'll reset them. We're gonna do that as quickly as we can. I know the ski area needs water
Yeah.
for snowmaking.
Yeah, it's
but,
pretty low, yeah.
We will get out there just as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I noticed one of the trap doors had washed away, you know, when
Yeah.
I had suggested it should be attached. I guess they weren't attached.
Okay.
So there's a bench upside down covering one of the trap doors, but
A bench upside down.
Someone put it there so someone will
so,
walk,
so,
fall,
yeah, to
step
cover the
in the
trap
hole.
door, 'cause it's gone.
Okay,
It's,
all right,
it's not,
Yeah.
all right.
And on the good news side of the storm, clearly the road work that was done on Valley, excuse me, on
Valley,
Valley,
Tecumseh.
Tecumseh, Snows Brook. And then back to Valley again, maybe not so much at the other end of Valley because they didn't finish there, but
Right,
all the drainage work clearly paid off because that compared to like Boulder Path Road,
yeah, the only
they
areas
were in
on,
great shape.
the only areas on the new work.
Right.
From this past summer was on the areas
But they didn't
where
finish
we did not finish
Right.
the,
from Boulder
coat.
Path to Valley,
so
the
we,
village, right?
you know, I would anticipate that once we get that done, that it would be like the rest of it, and it did work very well, all those drainage structures, the new culverts and everything worked really well.
It's good to have a relationship, but a firm like Piper, they were obviously able to respond very quickly.
Well, we were lucky because the work that they were doing, they got washed out of by the flood in Auburn.
Ah, okay.
And so they didn't have any work to do,
And then
so
they
they
took our
came
phone
here.
call,
they
right?
took our phone call.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And they know us, so then
Right.
it was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if nothing else on department heads, department updates or storm update. The next agenda item is the Ray Center budget for 2024. So how would you like to proceed? Oh, hey, Leah, how you doing?
Oh.
Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
yeah.
I'm getting there.
Ah, there we are. Thank you. Hello again.
Hi.
Okay, so we received a budget. And I don't know if any other board member would like to say anything about it, or would you like to hear any general comments, or just have, I think I see Barry here as well.
So can I just make a couple of
Yep.
comments here in the start? So
Yep.
what the select board have in front of them, is the broken down budget between regular operations and the preschool operations. It shows an increased town regular operations number of 39,000 and a Waterville Valley School District for the preschool of 22,850. We understand from Leah telling us that, and the school department letting us know that they could not do the
That's-
20
That is, we
to
have,
850.
the school board has been informed by the SAU
Mhm.
that if we do that, it could be interpreted as the school paying for it, which would open up all kinds of issues.
Okay,
So-
so basically the context is there's the usual 25,000 in our operating budget. But
For this year modified to 39, so the
Right.
budget documents that you have been looking at so far
right,
include 39.
39,000, but there's also that extra 22,850.
Which we did not include in any
In
of the
the town
town.
portion of it, but
portion.
now that we know that the school can't participate, that's hanging out there as
Right.
well.
Correct.
So the two decisions we have are, do we want to increase, which is basically an increase for inflation? The 25,000 to 39,000 for race center operations.
Mhm.
And then what do we want to do with regard to supporting the preschool, which is going to require an additional 22,850.
Mhm.
I think we
That's
have that right, yes? Bob? you looked at me, I thought you wanted to
No.
say something. Yeah.
I'm,
I mean, I think we are where we were at this point, numbers slightly different last year.
Yeah.
And I think the question is, the larger question, the context is does the town want to support the preschool? Or even the Ray Center, because I think the Ray Center is saying that the town has been generously giving the Ray Center 25,000 a year since 2006.
Six.
And that's because they took over a number of rec department programs. And that it was cheaper for us to pay the 25,000 stipend than for us to actually run the programs through the rec department. But that number hasn't changed. So the
2,000.
39,000 is trying to recapture inflation since then. So that's one part of it. And I guess that would be the first thing we should talk about.
Yeah, so I guess it'd be interesting to know, maybe you can help with this, Leah, what programming you're doing that's alleviating that burden on the rec currently.
Yeah, so there's two pieces to that. That it is a historical number. And when I approached the town in 2020, just pre-COVID, it did make sense that the town was going to adjust for inflation for that. Right about that time, a lot of the Ray Center programming went back to the rec department. So there are pieces that we have done historically that we're not doing. Right now, I think that the key pieces that the Ray Center does for the town is keeping the cottage going and keeping it in working and usable condition, which is wonderful. Our community garden program, and then our monthly speaker series, which just continues to grow. And I think it's been really fun. I know a lot of folks have been able to attend those and view them online. And then we have our monthly stargazing program and the story time, which is, now that we are over and able to operate in a place where where more folks can get to it and regular operations, that should be increasing attendance as well. And we still are kind of the hub for the literary discussion group, which is held over at the Osceola Library.
And
So those
are things that the town was doing beforehand.
Right. So the request is to continue to do those things with a $39,000 stipend and a $14,000
Yeah.
increase.
And the operation of the town is responsible to maintain the building. However, the
Right.
operations of the building, the electricity, heat, all of that is the responsibility of the Ray Center. And the programming that did and it wasn't really a result of COVID, it was a result of the reorganization of the rec
Right.
department. The hiking programs, the winter hikes and those
Mhm.
things
Right.
came back over to the Parks Department when we reorganized the Recreation Department in 2018.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, sorry.
no, thank you.
Anyone on the board like to comment on the request for the additional funding? At least for that aspect of it, not related to the preschool.
well, it seems like, so you're talking $58,900 to cover stargazing, the garden, speaker series, story time, and a literary group that meets at the library.
And cottage operations.
And cottage operation.
Sounds like a lot of money to me for,
Well, a big chunk of that, the 33,750, is payroll expense.
well, it's still an expense.
Yeah, yeah.
We're spending $60,000 for those those items, and I don't know, it doesn't strike me as a good use of funds, but that's,
Okay. Wendy, did you have a comment on the matter?
Still digesting.
Okay. I mean, you raised a larger question. I mean, in terms of the the more immediate question, I can understand why increasing for inflation makes sense. But you're asking more of a larger general question as to should the town be spending this much money? I mean, would you be saying the same thing if it was 25, if we kept it at 25? Or is it?
Well, I'd feel better. But it, you know,
Okay.
if you just put a price tag on, you know, stargazing, the garden, speaker series, story time, and literary group meeting at the library. I mean,
You're not seeing the 60,000?
I don't see that $60,000 worth of benefit to the town.
Okay,
That's just my opinion.
right. So that's of the 39,000, so the difference is, we haven't talked about the revenue side, which would make up the difference between the town's 39,000, roughly, make it easy, $20,000 difference in terms of the revenue, a little bit of investment income. Summer camp, I guess, to some extent. So anyway, that 20,000 would be added to our 39,000 for the race center to operate the programs that it operates. Just want to make sure I
Yeah,
got that. Not counting the preschool.
Leah, you can speak to this. The idea was to break out how much of the overall revenue, because last year, everything was presented as
Right.
a single combined budget.
Right,
So this year, it just got broken out into the two pieces. And so there's revenue offsets that are attributable to the regular programming, including the town increase amount. But you want to talk about how much from event revenue and sponsorship is going to the 58.5?
Yeah, so the piece with the Race Center is that being a small nonprofit organization, the programming has changed a lot in many years, depending upon who the director was, depending upon the staff. And since COVID, obviously, our staffing changed, and so did what programs we were able to offer. So, you know, when you say, you know, there's 5 essential programs, and one of them is the preschool. So the payroll is a large chunk of what it takes right now for the overall operations. And then the other pieces are, you know, the expenses there you can see, but where we are looking for additional funds has really been, our membership has changed because of the way we do programs. We don't have membership in the same way. Our sponsorships have decreased some. But what we have increased are some great events in the Valley that we're on our 3rd year, and they're events that have brought a lot of energy to the Valley. So that's one of the things that the Race Center does. And I think that that's value as well there. And those events are continuing to build energy and therefore build revenue. And we certainly would like to do that. But as everybody, most folks know, it takes a lot of time and energy to put on an event. And sometimes it takes much more than a handful of hours to have something pull through. So I think that as far as where other income has come from, the summer camp is quite successful. And, you know, I don't remember who I was mentioning it to. I've already had several requests, you know, letting us know or asking when it's opening up again for the summer. Some return families who are visitors. And I think that when the Race Center continues to operate, then it can continue to add a piece here, as well as keep the history of the Rays in the Valley, you know, on the forefront of folks when they want to know a little bit about some of the history of that portion of it.
How solid are the two of the revenue items. One is event revenue and sponsors, which goes up from 20 to 25,000, so it's a $5,000 increase.
Mhm.
And preschool fee goes up from 37, goes up also $5,000, which would imply that there's gonna be more students.
Yeah, that's actually to reflects that last year we had a family move, and so we actually this year have 5 students for the full year. So that 42.5 is 5 students, and we have 5 students pre-enrolled for next fall.
So that amounts to 42.5.
Correct. And as far as the event revenue, you know, like I said, we're growing. We've added a couple dates for the skinning, and the ski touring has been really pretty great. And as far as so we intend to work on capturing additional funds with that, and some of that is through sponsorships.
Is there, are there any programs, or is there a program that you would eliminate if the town stipend remained at 25,000 instead of 39,000? I mean, how would you, what would happen? I guess what I'm asking is, again, setting aside the preschool, what would happen
Yeah.
if the stipend
Well,
is 20?
then the request for the preschool support would be higher, you know, because really that some of my role has been, and that salary reflects it, and the payroll expenses reflected, has been towards the preschool. So if the town does 25, then we need to go back to the drawing board and sort out how we'll address that particular deficit, and that's where we would be at if the preschool is still, which we're expecting to continue on. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it did. I mean, the answer I got was that it's difficult to separate them very cleanly, that really some of the expenses for the preschool integrated into that's the personnel side, into the running of the race center.
Yeah, and the office, the just general, you know, having the doors open.
Right. Okay, and then let me just turn, while we're thinking about that, let me just turn to the preschool. So in your budget presented to the select board, preschool operations for 2024 would amount to 82,250. And based on your calculations for revenue, you would need 22,500. Do I have that right?
850.
Excuse me, 22,850 to run the preschool.
That's the deficit between our income
Right.
and our expense.
Plus the 39,000.
Just the preschool. No, that's included in that.
Well, the 39,000 would be the 25.
Right, correct.
14 is in the operating budget.
Yeah.
But you still would need 22,850 to operate the preschool. So it's
Right.
similar to last year.
It's
I
very
think.
similar to last year. Yep.
So I think really the question is on the latter question, the question is, does the town want to support a preschool for 22,850? And we could handle that, or that can be handled by a warrant article like it was last year. And the board can take no position on the matter or support it. But we can certainly put forward a warrant on behalf of the Race Center, asking for that amount of money for the preschool. But it still wouldn't work if we didn't give you the extra 14 to run you'd have to increase, if I understood you
Or we're
correctly.
gonna have to decrease program.
Well, so you could potentially,
Yeah, if we would look to make whatever cuts we could make,
right,
but then again, why a lot of that programming is pretty, it's small and it's
right,
specialized and it's historic to the Race Center. Could we get volunteers to run it? Possibly. we'd have to go back and look at it if you said no to the 14,000.
Mhm.
And the cost to the preschool would go up if that piece went away.
Because part of that money is operating.
Right, that's
expenses
the
for
integrated
building.
part. That's hard to section
Slice
out,
out.
slice out. Thank you.
Mhm.
So that 14,000 would roughly be about 3 cents per thousand at the current valuation, roughly,
Mhm.
on the tax bill, to add the 14,000 to the 25,000, which is about a nickel.
Yep.
So we would go from 5 cents to 8 cents per thousand on the tax rate. Anyone else want to comment on it? Are we ready to make a decision? Do you want to think about it some more? We still have more budget discussions to get through.
Well, if you put it on a warrant item, then, you know, it's up to the voters. I mean, I guess I'm a Leah fan, but I'm not a fan of the Ray Center as it currently exists, or the preschool. I just don't think.
So you'd
you
want
know,
to put everything on the warrant, both the preschool and the request for increase?
I would, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I think that, you know, I think it's, in my opinion, it's run its course, and there's just not enough kids to justify the preschool. I remember being told it was 11 or 12 kids to break even on preschool. And we've had consistently around 5 for the last 3 years. So I don't think the demand is there, and you know, we're paying, the town is putting up 61,850. Plus we put $10,000 into a building fund every year, and it just seems like a lot of money, and that there's not enough justifiable benefit that comes out of it. Either the programming or the number of kids in the preschool, just
Yeah, I mean,
in my opinion.
I certainly agree with you that whatever the amount is requested for preschool should go again in front of the voters for them to make that fundamental decision. Otherwise, we're going to be here every year doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it seems like we're kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. The other side of it, you're opening up a different question about support to the Ray Center for its programs.
You know what, if preschool had 10 kids, I'd be a huge fan of it. Just doesn't strike me that that there's enough kids around to justify it. And the other programming that we're doing, now that the town has taken back some of the things that the Ray Center had been doing, I don't know. I have a problem. I feel like part of my job here is to look after the town's money
Mhm.
on behalf of the taxpayers, and I just can't feel good about the amount of money we're spending on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Leah.
Hey, Leah.
I was just going to make a quick comment. Thank you, Bob. The first year, just so you know, we had 8 students full-time, and we had 2 students that were in partially for a period of the year. And we at 5, and I think it would be wonderful if we continue to increase tuition, but 5 is more than most students' classes in the elementary school. And I think that is a number moving forward, thinking about the preschool, that is a number that is still worth investing in. Having a family that has young children be able to move to the Valley. We have, one this year, actually 2 this year, that were able to move to the Valley this year. 1 student is in elementary school, 1 student is in the preschool. Next year, one of the students who is in the preschool right now will be going to the elementary school, and their younger daughter will be, our child will be enrolled in our program. We have another family that's able to move to the Valley next year, extra year early, because they have a child who will be able to be in our preschool program when their older child goes to the elementary school. So, I think that it's just a perspective piece, but again, it comes down to the town support. But I just wanted to clarify that and keep the overall perspective of what it looks like.
You
in
know,
the
which I could
numbers.
support it, but I just don't feel like I can from
The,
a financial standpoint.
if I can ask a two-part question. Is there a, so at 5 students, you have X amount of staff. Would it be the same staff if you had 6 or 7? And what's the point where you would have to hire more?
Yeah, it's really tough, right about 6, and it does depend upon the group as well. Right about 6 for the amount of time that we spend outside, which is what our program is about. I mean, I hope that most of you will be able to catch Allie's note that is going to be in the January wigwag, talking about a little bit more about our program. And I hope you've caught I hope folks have been able to catch the last couple months articles as well, that it just takes, it's not a daycare program, not to belittle any daycare programs because childcare is important, but we're not inside in a contained safe space. We are out exploring. So right about 6, we start needing more assistance. It doesn't necessarily mean a full-time person, but then, then it goes for several numbers up. And it also depends upon the age range that we have that changes staffing.
That's the second part of my question. I'm looking for a potential town benefit here that we can, for example, offer employees so the town will get a benefit, but if it doesn't increase the staff, it may be something that would help us with retention or perhaps even recruitment. But what you're saying is we'd only be talking about one person, that if we were to offer this as a part of a benefit package for town employees, you could accommodate one other student, but then at these costs, but beyond that, you'd have to hire more staff.
There's some modifications and some structure changes that can be done. But yeah, it would look a little bit different staffing wise. It might not go up exponentially, but it would definitely go up. Yes.
I mean, is the board in general agreement that the preschool portion of this definitely needs to go in front of the town?
Yeah.
Whatever that number is, 22,850, or just as it did last year, and let the voters decide the extent to which they want to, if at all, support a preschool. I mean, I think we're in agreement on that. The other question I think that you're raising, Bob, is how much do we want to continue supporting the Race Center for its other activities? And you're saying you think that 58, sorry, my screen.
68. A total of 68,000.
Where'd you get the extra?
10,000.
61,850.
Okay.
That's the 39 plus the 22,850.
Oh, no, I was leaving, right, okay, right.
So
If-
would
yeah.
we be removing, Bob, the 25,000 from the regular operating budget and putting it all into a?
Yeah, that's what I was
Warrant
coming to.
Well, I don't know if the rest of the board wants to leave the 39 in. And then we could just put the 22 up for the vote of the town. I don't know,
Or if we leave the 25 and
25 and
The
put
rest.
14 plus.
plus, because if that would all be kind of interconnected.
Yeah, they have to be careful because there are two different things going on in
Yeah.
one warrant article. You'd have to make it severable in some way, right? That's a word, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Or two separate warrant articles.
Because one is to support the preschool and
Right.
the other is to support.
Right,
Right.
Race Center
Race Center
operate, and I think we want to keep those clean as much as possible, even though there's an integration there. So that the difference between the numbers would change. So do you want to make that approach, or, I mean, I think,
Well-
Bob, you're saying you could go forward with 39,000? An extra 14,000 added to the 25 just for the operating budget and Race Center programs and put the rest of it in front of the town, or do you want to put the whole increase in front of the town? And however we figure out to do it in a. And same
Is this
question to you,
is this
Wendy.
something we need to decide tonight?
No,
Yeah, no, I mean.
Sooner is better.
Because the hard thing is that, seeing the ski drawing event growing is super exciting. And, I'd hate to pull the rug out from under any establishment, any organization that's putting that on, because it's so cool and brings such vibrancy, and there's so much room to grow there. So I'd hate to stifle,
And we would potentially, because we would, the
Right.
town wouldn't vote on something until March, and those things need to be,
right? And,
yeah, the timing wouldn't work.
because there, for such a small organization, there's a very broad range of items here. I mean, from a preschool to these events and yeah,
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Bob, if you wanted to, I'm sure we all agree that the Ray Center is a very interesting historical part of the valley. I think. What would you see it as? I mean, if we didn't have a preschool and if we didn't fund any of the events at the Ray Center, what would you see the Ray Center as becoming? What would it be?
Go
What do you
away,
see it as being?
go away, maybe.
Just tear it down?
I think it would incorporate the programs we wanted to keep would go to the, well, it's a town
I don't
building.
think it's necessary to keep a Ray Center, Curious George presence in the valley, even though that's our history.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Right, but the programs could potentially return, at least some of them in some form to the rec department, but I'm guessing it will cost more to run those programs out of
I
the
don't.
rec
think it would
department.
cost. It would depend on what do
It's,
you want.
it's,
us to
I always
do.
assume more,
I mean,
right?
well, what do you want?
No, it just
We-
conceptually
we
here.
turned- When we came up with the $25,000 number, at the time, we were spending almost $60,000 running the programs that were turned over to the Ray Center. But at that time, they had a huge influx of revenue,
Mhm.
both from membership and from grants, and there was money
Yeah.
from big donors.
Right.
And so the budget was over $200,000 at that time, a year.
Wow,
And we had 3.5 employees, something like that. So when we came up with the 25,000, it was a big savings to the town because we were replacing that 58 to 60,000 that we were spending on personnel.
that's what it was costing
and
us,
benefits and everything else to run those programs and to
right?
operate.
Well,
the
that's what I was
building.
trying to get a handle on.
And so, but obviously different programming would be coming back to the rec. It
Mhm.
wouldn't be at that level
Mhm.
again, I assume. So it would depend on what programs you said you
We
wanted
would
us
be willing to
keep.
fund, right?
And then we would look at it and can we do it for 25? I don't know. If we can do it for 25,000, I don't know what it would cost at this point. But we can look at that. If you want to identify what you want to do.
Yeah, I think we're still groping our way towards what we want to
yeah.
do on the race center operations side. I think we've agreed on the preschool side that that's gonna be a separate warrant article for the town to decide. Whether it wants to
I
continue
think
to
it's
fund that.
unfortunate that the Race Center hasn't been able to come up with more creative fundraising ideas. Adaptive is just so successful. And I know it's a different kind of a program that appeals to different people. But, since the big donors have gone away on the Race Center, it's been 3 or 4 years at least. And I don't see that much has happened in terms of fundraising creativity, other than looking to the town to make up the difference. And I don't feel great about that.
I'm sorry, Jack.
Alan?
Alan?
You people are ready for me.
No, I mean, please.
Okay. I've been away for several weeks. I came back. And the conversation that was this morning, I thought was the primary issue was the concept of accepting whether the town wants a preschool with the understanding they will have to continue it perhaps in perpetuity.
Mhm.
Okay? Once you get to that, then you can plan. Doing it day to day, year to year. People, Leah has to make commitments to people that we will be there.
Right.
It is not easy, because the commitments have to be made months before we have the
Right.
funding. It's in the same way. If the mountain has a catastrophe or something, it says, I don't know if we'll be open next year, we may not make, what's gonna happen to their revenue stream? If people come buy,
Mhm.
season tickets, that's a poor analogy.
Yeah.
I'm just, so, we're starting with that. Number two, when it comes to spending the money, there's a tremendous commingling here. If you did away with the Ray Center, because if you eliminate the payroll, who's gonna do the fundraising? Who's gonna, you say, we haven't done anything. Well, I haven't done a hell of a lot, but people have worked very hard on this, Bob. Once upon a time, there was a group, we did the formal,
That's-
event every year. It was profitable, okay? The interest and the dynamics of the people who live here, I'm not interested in that enough to do that program. It was expensive, but it got ski joining and other things are brand new. That's replaced that. It didn't happen in a vacuum, and it takes a hell of a lot of work to make it happen. The other thing, I guess, get confused, do away with the Ray, the hell with the programs. I don't think you go to programs, so if you don't go to the programs to see who is showing up and how many people show up, you have no idea how it's viewed, liked or disliked in the thing. If you're not there, I think there's a limit to how much criticism you can make about the place. But our cost is substantially payroll, 130 with the benefits, the payroll taxes, et cetera. The additional $30,000 in expense. Pay the utilities, because you don't want the people to be employees. We have a payroll service. We have a bookkeeping service. That's thousands of dollars a year. Because that's the structure you want. Now, you can eliminate, say, the programs, but we still have to heat the building, and you want an independent staff at the school. So all of the workman's comp, the payroll taxes, the bookkeeping service, the payroll service, and cutting, well, the town does the grad. And then you have office expenses. You want more fundraising? Fund it.
So I think what I hear, I think I hear,
You can't separate this.
well, I was about to say that. What you're arguing is that you can't look at it in terms of preschool or no, and the program. So what you're arguing for actually is a very, very fundamental decision
Sort of a
about the Ray
holistic-
Center, full
Yeah,
stop.
a holistic approach. Then you can plan, then you can build. It also feeds the grammar school. We have 5 students where you have, of those 5, will you get them the next year? I don't know. The town,
Mhm.
the school, the way the place is structured, has been sliding, and it looks like it will continue. Where do the next generation of kids come from?
That's a roll of the dice, yeah, right? It's a big roll of the dice if you're putting everything
Yeah.
on that. I was trying to find a way that maybe not, but you're saying it's so integrated. If that's, I don't, someone wanted to comment,
Mike, you
sorry.
said you had, what,
The issue with putting on a school board hat for a second. Long ago, when the Ray Center first started to have a preschool, and we were talking about 8 to 10 kids total, meaning 4 to 5 kids a year coming into the school. We're now talking about 2 kids a year coming into the school, which is a whole different animal, which is, so, but it's this,
More than 2 kids this year.
which comes back to a basic premise. And the only thing that matters here is, and I think this has to go before the town, and that is, does the town wish in perpetuity or for an extended period of time, wish to have a preschool? yes or no? And if the answer to that is yes, then the town has to agree that it is going to fund it. And that's the end of the discussion. The answer is no, then the answer is no.
I think that's where the
It's a
board has
very-
come down,
It's like an extraordinary.
but we're talking about the other
It's
side.
Further though, it's
Right.
almost further, so you're saying we
Right.
should put forth a warrant article to fund it for the next 5 years or the next 3 years, like a chunk of time,
I-
so that they're
my-
going to, is that?
I hate to interrupt you, but I think, in my view, and I said this last year, we can't do this for 1 year. We have to do this.
Mhm.
I don't know whether the right number is, Wendy, whether it's 3 or 5,
Mm.
but we ought to sit here and say, A, do we want to have a preschool? Answer, yes. If that, yeah, and we want to have it, and we're going to fund it, we, the town, are going to fund it for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, we will revisit it.
Right,
Obviously, your discussion, your decision, not mine, but that would be my suggestion.
But
I was told there could not be a multiple year concept of funding.
you would,
This came
Right.
up.
yes, we have talked about this before, and the only way
Mm-hmm.
to do that is to appropriate an amount of money
For that period, Upfront,
into an account
right,
that is specific
Right.
use for that
Mhm.
over a 3-year period.
right,
right,
And to have that all written out in the warrant article, but you can't just appropriate 1 year of money and commit to doing it
Right.
2 more
no,
years.
yeah.
right,
Okay, so,
Right.
because,
Yeah.
The money we're talking about, and pick a number, say it's, make my numbers simple, right? Say it's $30,000 a year, just
Yeah.
to make my math simple.
right,
Right, so it's $30,000 a year, we're gonna allocate $90,000 over the course of 3 years, yes or no?
well, you can't ask it that way. What
Well,
I'm
you went-
saying
you
is,
drafted.
you have to appropriate $90,000.
Mhm.
And then put it into an account.
Right.
That you then parcel out,
over the years.
Over the 3
With the
years,
understanding it's a
30.
3-year,
but
right,
it's, you've got to do that initial appropriation.
right.
Right.
Well,
For
here,
90.
here's the thing, though, that's not what the race center is asking of us,
That's not what they're asking.
right? At least as far as the preschool is concerned. They're asking for $22,850 to fund preschool operations for the 2024-25 year, and that's why I said we're back to where we were last
That's
year.
right.
And
Is-
yeah,
But is that something that the race center board and Leah would want to ask? Is that an approach? Like, is there that 3-year commitment from the race center for the town to talk
but it
about?
won't just be that too, right, Wendy? I mean, if you go wrong, Alan's point of view, you got to go with the programming too.
Sure, yes,
So that's another 39
true.
times 3. Unless you just could turn the race center into a preschool.
And then the
But it-
preschool budget changes.
The preschool
Right.
budget changes.
Yeah,
But
Because, yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to clarify something. Bob, that 10 grand that goes into a capital account, that's from your left pocket to your right pocket. That is not for us. That is for the building that you own.
I know it, but it's still a race center. It's,
Well, what are you gonna do?
but we're giving it to you.
If we go away, are you not gonna take care of the building?
Yeah, I mean, we're giving you the building rent free. Right?
well, I mean, I presume it would revert on to the rec department for their programs.
Yeah.
Maybe one way of approaching it, but you're right,
I mean, I'd like to support
Principle.
the whole thing. I'm just saying that with my hat on as a selectman, looking at the finances of the town, I'm concerned.
and not just about the preschool nest,
Yeah,
not just the
Well, let me
preschool
assure
nest,
you,
right?
The Ray people are concerned
All right,
also.
well, I
Can
think
we
we're,
Mutually find a way forward.
okay. So what's the consensus of the board beyond definitely a warrant article with regard to the preschool? How do we want to deal with the request, first the 25,000 and then the additional 14,000? Do we want to wrap it all up into a couple warrants and see what the town wants to do with regard to the race center, quote unquote, going forward among all these programs? Or do we just want to leave it to the preschool and go with the 25 plus 14 so that the
Well,
program
we
could run?
could have a warrant item that raises the 90,000 like Mike suggested, or whatever the amount is. And it makes it a 3-year commitment and let the town vote on that
For the preschool, right?
for the preschool.
For the preschool.
Yeah, no, I think we've agreed, we'll come up with how, well, we have to see what the race center wants in terms of a multi-year commitment. So I think we've agreed on that. I'm asking about the other part of it. Do we want to approve their ask for 14,000 in addition to the 25,000 for this year to run the non-preschool operations? Or do we want to put that up in front of the town?
That's to adjust the cost of living. Is it?
Yes,
Would you explain to me, if we don't get the $14,000, how we pay for the heat? Would you explain to me where that money comes from?
Mhm. Well, again, you're
I don't
making
have
the
an answer.
argument, you're making the argument that it's an organic whole. Right, and that's a very interesting argument, because you're rolling the dice for everything.
It's not a roll of a dice, it's planning and everything.
Well, I
can
mean,
also interject, the
Mhm.
concept of a longer term amorphous agreement is fine, but I wouldn't wait 3 years to make a decision. The decision needs to be made.
Oh, it would
maybe In
be.
year one, maybe in year two, but you just can't walk.
No, no,
up
it
to
would
the
be
end.
for the commitment for 3 years.
You'd
So
be making-
you have
Yeah.
to make a decision about the future
What-
before 3 years expires.
What if we leave
Yeah.
the 25 in the operating? Do a warrant article for the 14 to increase, explain the cost, the inflationary.
This is where I would think
You know,
I would land.
or if you're not comfortable with 14, is 10, any increased amount. Okay to leave in the operating budget. Because it does cost more today than it cost in 2006 to operate that building. Could we do 35,000 instead of 25,000? In the operating budget and then do the 3-year warrant article for the preschool support. And then let the Ray board consider that.
Yes,
May I interject a little?
I say yes.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, no, I think that's, I was
Yeah.
trying to move
Yeah,
in that direction.
So then we
Because-
need to figure out what the 3-year amount is.
yes,
Right.
and so the Ray board will go back and we'll talk about a 3-year program. And what
For the
number
preschool,
With the,
for the preschool, does 30,000 work for the 3 years?
right, and as far as the rec department, the race center programs, we're agreeing to up the stipend to 35,000,
From the
Yeah.
20.
from the
And keep
25,000
that in the operating
budget
budget.
as it is
under
now.
general.
I think that's,
That's fine for you to say. But now we're still short 5. If we got an excess, happy for you to take it back. But I don't know how to pay for the heat if we're short. So why don't you make it comfortable? Nobody.
I think, Alan, that,
Well, that's fine.
Right.
Where does it go? We'll run out, if we run out of money, who do we go to?
But Alan,
That-
so what, we'll come back, the Ray board will come back to the board. We are not, the budget is not finished yet. And so we can come back at the January 4th meeting.
A regular
and tell
meeting.
you, Leah, we'll come back at the January 4th meeting and say whether or not that proposal works.
or what you would have to
Or what we
Cut.
would have to do.
cut.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've already
Thank
made
you.
the 39 and cut it to 35 in your mind. It happened that way last year.
No.
We will run out of money. I'll give, if we're long, deduct it from the following year. I don't care, but you can't run it away. It's easy. You got a bill to pay, the town can figure out how to pay it. We can't borrow money.
I think, Alan, that's a discussion you have to have within
Or-
your board. I mean, the select board at this point is willing to add 10,000 to the operating budget for a total of 35. That's,
I don't understand. for how much that's $4 grand, that's 25 cents a week probably for every unit is
Mhm.
that, or $1 a year for the whole thing to cover. We will run into a problem. So give us the flexibility of being on. You wanna control the checkbook? No problem.
I think,
We don't care.
I
but
think
we
the
can't be put
decision-
in a position
okay.
because you think 39, we'll call it 35, boom.
I think we've asked in this discussion, I think we've asked the board, the race center board to come back and let us know what the impact is of increasing 10 vice 14,000. So I think we'd like to see more meat on those bones.
Just a question, whether I agree with Bob or not and the rest. Is there, if the board, if the race center comes back and says, no, we need 39. And the select board say, we'll put that on the warrant article, but we're not recommending. And then let.
That's,
them
Sure, we
that's
can-
that's certainly,
Option.
that's
Sure.
certainly an
make-
option
Sure.
Then they get their opportunity to talk.
to make the
town
case.
and make their
Right.
case.
Sure. We can do that.
Or they can make, they can make their case, they can petition for the additional 4,000. They could change the number
Make an
amendment
amendment.
to add the 4,000 in. I mean, there are other pathways here. But at this point, the board is agreeing to 10,000, and we want to hear back from the Ray Center board what that means.
And
Great,
we can,
thank you.
we'll have a meeting before the 4th, Leah.
Thank you. Perfect.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
thank you, Leah.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you all.
Let's move on to old business. Dark Skies Committee update. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah, he's behind you. Yes.
Behind you.
So you want how much,
Familiar with that situation.
Bill? You want how much?
Much more than it takes to run the race center. Can't have it.
Please make your case. So this, but actually, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so flippant, but we did ask the Dark Skies Committee of the Planning Board to provide us with a more solid number to help us get a handle on what we would need to do to at least initiate the process of making the town more Dark Skies compliant as it relates to its zoning.
Yes, the beginning, the genesis of this is that the planning board asked a working group, which is Mike, Morgan, and me, to assess, to do a more proper assessment of what it would take to try to implement the dark sky ordinances that are already on the books. The first step was to survey consultants to see, because we ran into the problem of asking people to change their lighting based on what recommendation? Who knows how this should be done? The answer would be to find a expert, i.e. a kind of lighting consultant, to tell us how lighting should be modified, remediated, so that the result is dark skies
Compliant.
throughout the town. And so we asked a number of consultants. We found one in Colorado, very well reputed, expert in the field, showed us a number of examples of how dark sky implementation occurred and what the results were photographically. It's clear that they're in the business, they're expert, they know what to do. We asked for a fee structure. Tell us how you would price this so that this could be accomplished. And the answer is simple, that to engage a consultant to at least do the evaluation, that is, we talked to Clanton and Associates of Boulder, Colorado. They gave us phase 1, 2, and 3 of how to implement the dark sky ordinances that exist today. Phase 1 would be a evaluation. Come to the town, look at between 2 and 5 sites, tell us what did they measure, that is, measure the light and measure the circumstances, and determine what it would cost to provide a plan. The answer is between 10 and 15,000. If they were to go, we were to move on to phase 2, and the reason I'm doing this is to say that this is what we're up against when it comes to trying to properly implement dark sky ordinance. Because going to an individual or a business to say your lighting does not meet the requirements of the dark sky ordinance, just sets up a disagreement discussion. But if we have proper recommendations from an expert, it diminishes that problem significantly. But nevertheless, if we were to go to phase 2, then the money involved in providing this type of service, which is to provide a demonstration, that is to set up a circumstance setting, a pre-planned lighting modification with equipment and a contractor to do a lighting mock-up and inviting the town to come and see before and after. That is to see with your own eyes how this could be done. This is how the lighting is now, and this is how the lighting would be after remediation takes place. And it would take 2-3 days of on-site with these consultants. The fee they gave us was 35,000. We believe that as the working group believes that we can continue the discussion with consultants, but we don't believe that engaging anyone, even someone who would be local, doesn't have to be from Colorado, would be between 10 and 15,000 to get their expert opinion, to be here to do evaluation and to assess what would have to be done for, say, the most, flagrant examples, pardon me, of dark sky problems. Don't see how we're going to get around that.
That's the phase 1.
That's
You're
phase
talk-
1.
right.
From there, we could then, do more of the legwork on our own. That is, I was surprised myself to look at what it would cost to do the before and after demonstration, to have people on site, to actually have a contractor say, go up on the poles and change the lighting to show this is the way it is, and this is the way it would be after remediation. That's some more serious money. But nevertheless, we were asked to do this, and these are the numbers that have been presented.
Did you say there was a phase 3?
Want to hear about that?
You've done all this work, so, you've done all, you and your group have done all this work, so
No,
I,
but see, this is
appreciate
what
that.
these consultants would do. That
Right.
has been done elsewhere.
right, that's what I
Other
wanted to get a
towns have
handle
been
of.
Through this procedure.
Okay,
Other businesses, other industrial sites. That is, there was one large contract that was done where the site was a mining operation in Colorado, where they had nighttime operations. It illuminated the surrounding mountains in every direction. After the remediation, all the mountains were dark as previously. It didn't affect. That is, the challenge is to provide the same lighting service.
Yep.
Without
Right.
diminishing how people work.
That's what it's all about. Yep.
So what-
So what's
what's the phase 3?
Give us the bottom
Phase
line.
three Is that is phase 3. But this is on what he called on-site engagement.
Yep.
Okay, here's the before and after demonstration. Now what we need to do is have all of the stakeholders present and engage them in a discussion. In other words, we gotta talk about this, and you people have to say that you agree that you like what happened. We showed you what could be done.
Right.
Yep.
Now we need you to agree that we need to proceed with this.
Okay,
And fix the lighting in town.
Okay,
And that was, that's an on-site community engagement presentation.
Mhm.
Another 10,000.
Okay. So we're talking about 55,000 to 60,000
Yeah,
altogether.
but it's surprising.
this is all the consulting evaluation
That's
phase.
right, but it's getting it done.
Right. No, that's very, and then we get to the cost of actually making the changes.
Yes.
Yes, you gotta then
Go ahead.
buy the specific equipment or let's
Mm-hmm.
say lighting diffusers. It's something like horse blinkers that you put on.
Yeah.
Right,
these
right.
fixtures,
But it's not
or
just-
you change the
And
fixtures
there's
altogether.
another-
So this
another
is,
wrinkle.
this is like getting the pedestrianization
Exactly.
Yes.
and
Exactly.
for lighting.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There's another,
it's,
but there's another wrinkle.
There's,
And the other wrinkle is we have spoken to some of the places that are not conforming.
Mhm.
Blackbeard is the
Yeah.
example, since it's direct me direct. And I've spoken to people there and several other places, and they are willing to do something. As long as they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Bob,
So-
why are you laughing at me?
Wait a
Okay,
minute,
so I
though.
mean, that's,
Bob, you know that, Bob, you know that was.
so what we're
This-
talking about is the 60,000 for an evaluation, a consultation as to
and
what it would take
plan, and a plan.
and a plan,
And
consultation.
so, again, this is like having all the drawings,
Yeah, yeah.
having all the evals, the same way we did the pedestrianization.
Yeah.
yes, because the report that we saw from
Yeah.
what had been, yeah, you got the picture.
Okay,
It's detailed, it's analysis,
Yeah.
and it's according to the something called the IES, that's the
right,
Illumination Engineering Standards.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
the Dark Sky Organization.
Right.
It's
So-
very well documented,
so beyond this though, then
And it's
the
all
hard question
calculated,
comes,
numbers, tables of data,
right,
all of that stuff.
I think that we went into the pedestrianization plan
Yeah.
with the intent that we were gonna do something with the information.
oh yeah, why
that
spend
Cause we spent $90,000
on that?
But there was a reason to spend it.
Could you, excuse me, please, we're, the
So-
board is talking,
So we.
thank you, thank you, Bill,
Well,
So we went into it with, we wanted to know how should we do the roads
right,
to improve pedestrianization.
and we are still working
And we're
off that
still working
plan,
on it and. we've
10
been
years
using
later?
it. Yeah.
9 years later,
So I think that's one of the key questions. If we
Yes.
expended this money, would we be intending to really do something with it?
Well, and it would be a matter of
And-
putting out an RFP and hopefully
Right.
getting a lower amount than
Mm,
someone from
right.
Boulder, Colorado,
Right.
because that's
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
from.
in our view, and it's still, if we get a consultant from Boston,
Mhm.
we'll save some expense money,
Mhm.
but I don't think we'll change the dynamics of dealing with a consultant.
I think it's gonna be around 50,
Probably more.
60.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that, that would be the only recommendation I would have is that. Just, if you're gonna put this up to the town, then it would be. We're gonna have to do something with this, so there's kind of a commitment going
Oh,
into it.
sure.
oh
That
yeah,
we had with the pedestrianization. plan.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
wouldn't want to engage a consultant, go through all of this and then not
And
do
then
it.
just leave
Right.
it,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
We gotta show results.
I think you gotta talk about it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, given the numbers we're talking about, I think we have to talk.
Well,
about the
I
board.
think,
Go ahead,
I think you'd need to get a consensus from the town as how many people think we have a problem.
Well-
Is this a solution in search of a problem?
Well, and
You know?
Bob, that's a one, you
Right.
can put a warrant article on at the end of the warrant. And you can get a sense of meeting non-binding vote, and you can ask about it. And let people talk about it, get their input. I think that's a great idea because we hear a lot, especially public safety does, about safety concerns and
Yeah.
lighting,
which cuts
So-
against the dark
which
skies,
kind of
Well,
cuts
not
against.
necessarily,
not
it's like the
necessarily.
mining example.
no,
But
that's
there,
it.
but
Right.
there is a benefit to having the type of work that Bill's talking about.
Right,
If you're putting
In
in
advance.
additional lights for safety,
right.
Right.
so that can all be
so it wouldn't cut against,
discussed,
right,
Within
All
the
right.
conversation that we had with this
Right.
Stoughton group, they made specific reference, in fact, repeatedly said, our first concern is safety.
Right. Yeah.
And then we work with police,
Okay.
fire, EMS, and that's our first concern, because it won't go anywhere if people consider it to be less safe.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think what we'll do is, as a board, we can talk about it further as we go on. But moving towards a sense of town meeting on the whole idea, the whole concept, and whether in the end we're gonna be willing to expend not this upcoming fiscal year 24, maybe 25, to achieve dark sky compliance as it is written in our zoning.
It's either that the town says, oh, we don't want dark, then we just take it out of the ordinance package.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything further on?
Can I just ask a stupid question?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just go around to the lights that are shining like that and just buy a thingy a diffuser? And just do it.
It depends on who owns the thingy.
Well, like Black Bear has lights that could use a diffuser. They said, fine, do it. I
Right?
mean, why can't we just approach the people who
They-
are,
They won't pay for the diffuser.
oh, but they won't pay for it.
No.
Well, how much is a diffuser?
Well, I spoke to some people specifically about BlackBerry.
Yeah, I think this is
And
kind of,
not,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
and use Black Bear as the example.
Right.
Black Bear came into being 25, 26 years ago.
Whatever.
Mhm.
Those lights are 20.
right, so they're
25, 26 years
grandfathered
old.
and,
It's not that they're grandfathered.
and we've not
It-
done anything to check on the
it
grandfathering
is-
if they've changed them.
It is,
That's the
it
issue.
may not be so simple to find a diffuser that works.
Well, I think that's
That's
way,
why we have to. go
down.
through all the
But in answer
That's
to
what
the,
will tell us.
but answer to the general question, we can't expend any monies without the approval
Oh, of course.
of town, so
Right.
we're still back at town
But it
meeting.
probably would be a lot less than the $55,000 plus.
If
all
you
the
did
other
away with the
things.
study, you
You
could
just-
make
you just
some,
Do it.
Well, except that we want a plan so people feel safe walking at night.
That's true.
And so there will be
It
lights
will
that
still be
need,
light. It just won't shine.
well, I think we need an actual.
I
plan.
think it's a question of, I think we decided if we go down this path, it would necessarily have to be through some sort of consulting
Oh,
plan rather than, I mean, anybody in the house, I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They could do what they want to do. Okay.
If the
Yeah.
mountain develops the town square, that's gonna be the biggest culprit, and that's where
Oh, huge.
that's where the biggest progress could be made,
Right.
is doing that
future.
right
Exactly.
in the
I
future.
think that we need dark sky
Well-
ordinances to be able to say, look, when you're gonna build a gondola station. That it has to be done within the confines of that, and that these expert consultants
Right.
have said, this is the way you do it. You know, we say.
Well, they
that-
have to comply with the zoning ordinance on dark skies in
Yes.
any event, whether they
yes, they're
want to.
building it. Would they do that anyway?
Yes, but they'd have to determine whether they want to agree to some townwide plan, I think is what we're talking about.
You know, continuing with what Wendy said, that it's, you need a town-wide plan
Mhm,
that's very specific about how these things would be done,
right.
because all of this development is
There's,
coming.
there's development, there's seasonal lighting that isn't covered by zoning. There are a lot of issues here, safety,
Right,
et cetera, the infamous bridge lights.
Mhm.
right.
Uh,
Yeah,
that,
Absolutely.
so, all right, I
We
think,
can't say to
Okay.
the officer who's in charge of executing this
Well,
out in the field, you can't
that's,
send him out there and say. Without.
well, that's the other problem. We do not have the equipment, training, or the personnel. We don't have a light enforcement or a dark skies officer, and that's gonna raise other questions about going through all of this.
Yeah.
And really, can we really enforce it?
The consultant's gonna tell us that first there,
Right. But then we'll have to do something about that. So,
yes.
all righty, thank you. Thank you, Bill. We very much appreciate the work of your group. It certainly bounds the issue in terms of what we're looking at.
Yeah, these numbers are.
Was what we were looking for
That's right.
when,
They're
when-
not gonna change
right.
fundamentally when we go to consultant A or consultant. B.
okay,
It's gonna
great.
be a full-blown study, engineering one.
thank
Lots of
you.
numbers and charts,
All righty.
drawings and.
All righty, let's move on to the next business. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to move on to I'm good.
How are you gonna get home?
Helen.
I'll get-
Yeah,
I'll get-
don't worry about it.
Okay.
So I think we have, speaking of power, Community Power Committee update.
Excited.
Oh, I gotta stay in here.
Yeah, you gotta hear this. But the most important thing I'm gonna tell you is that we beat Thornton last night in the basketball game.
Very good.
So we're 3-1. We just lost to Ashland by like 9 points. They had a 6-footer though, so we're doing really well. Please come to our next basketball game on the 5th of January, 3:15. It's a home game. Playing Russell Elementary School, so please come. This is probably the last year we'll have a sports team, so please come for basketball.
Yes.
So this is where this, things are going well. They've requested, the utility company provide our information. Standard Power, has obtained that information. And so where we are in this process is we've been lumped in with some other large population towns. And within these large population towns for community electric power, all 4 major utility companies are represented. So it's increasing the likelihood that we'll come back with a highly competitive bid. So by mid to late January, we're looking to get that information back, and I'm gonna remind everybody in town that you have options with community electric power, so you can go for the ultimate amount of cost savings, or you can purchase various percentages of renewable energy up to 100% renewable energy. So we do not launch unless we save money. So we'll know by mid-January if we're gonna save money with this latest round of bidding that is currently in process. We won't know for another month or so. And then we're gonna enter into another phase after that. So we'll have a communication strategy. We'd like to get a write-up in the January water bill. We'll continue to put articles in the Wigwag and the Jan Stearns newsletter. We'll hit all the different ways that townspeople are getting information. We'll work on social media as well to let folks know that if we are in fact launching, that process will take place in April. The most important thing I can tell people is that if we do start launching, there are predatory practices that frequently happen. There are energy companies out there that are keenly aware of these launches, and they will send out something that looks very similar. And so folks need to be aware not to sign up with these companies, because it's, it'll look like maybe it's got a low introductory electric rate, and then it will skyrocket, but the ratepayer unfortunately will be locked into a binding contract for the duration. So we had, when we started this conversation, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was about a year ago. Somewhere along that line, there was an uptick in those predatory mailings. They'll come right through the mail. So if it's not coming from Standard Power or the town of Waterville Valley, it is not community electric power. So we are excited as a committee, hopeful that these rates will continue to come down. We can save some money and give people some options as to what kind of electricity that they are purchasing. I'd also like to acknowledge Alan here, because Alan, sometimes I forget things. Did I miss anything, Alan?
You nailed it.
Okay, okay.
And the other key point is that you will have to vote
Right.
when we end, like we mentioned to you before. This is something that's gonna be pretty quick, so it's within 4 or 5 days of getting the rates. We're gonna need a vote
So we'll have to have a
From the
meeting
select
and
board.
approve, and then
Yeah.
everyone
to
is,
approve it.
to approve
and then the Community Power Committee goes out
Right.
and starts doing it.
right.
Yeah,
And
so
so-
this is the complete oversight by the town
Yeah.
government. This isn't just a
Right.
small group of.
But
yeah.
everybody is automatically opted in, right?
Correct. So if we vote to do this, because
Right.
we're gonna potentially have cost savings, it is an opt-out program. So you'll automatically be enrolled unless you opt out, and there will be lots of communication around what that process looks like, because we don't want people to feel uncomfortable with this.
That means we eliminate our account with New Hampshire Electric Co-op.
No.
No,
No, be-
So how does
it's
it
the
come?
it's the power piece. So your electric bill has 2 pieces, delivery and power.
So the
And we're
bill's still gonna
talking-
come from electric co-op.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with the town. Currently, we have a third-party energy provider.
Mhm.
And we still get the co-op bills, and then we get a bill for the power from the energy company.
How do they feel about this?
So NHTC is actually completely in support
They
of
love it.
They are a poles and wire service company,
Okay,
and so they don't really care where the electricity comes from. We love the co-op. I mean,
Yeah.
we, you know, so
I
it's
think
a,
so too.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
work hard at
Right.
improving their delivery.
they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're basically waiting for is for you to tell us, you're gonna pull, you wanna pull the trigger. We meet, vote on it,
Yeah.
and then you go out and put
Will
everything
do.
out to the town and people opt out.
Opt out
Yeah.
if they.
Or and select which plan
Select
potentially,
Which-
Whichever
there'll be several
route we
plans to
take.
choose from.
So, you know, if we do, you know, if it is approved, we're gonna hit a major communication strategy just to make sure that everyone is properly communicated with. Do you have a squirrel or something in
That's
here? Oh,
a very large squirrel.
Okay, all right.
Puff and puff.
So-
yeah, so any other questions?
We
Good,
good?
good job.
Thank you.
Okay. thank you.
Thanks for the
Appreciate
update.
it.
Save money.
Thanks, Ed, thank you.
Do we want to put something in a mailer? And
We'll, yeah, we will work separately with the CPC to do that.
Just didn't want to run, you guys, the town, run out of space for what we want to put out.
Nope, we're good to go. We're ready to do that. I need that next week
Okay,
or beginning, January 2nd,
cause that. comes
because
up
we're
with
gonna
the
be
water
doing
bill.
it right away.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'll see all of you January 5th at the next basketball game.
Okay, good.
All right,
Excellent, thank you.
thank you.
All right. So let's move forward then to the proposed Black and Veatch 30% final.
Wait,
design- oh,
if you look under number 8,
Eight.
look at the last sentence.
Where are you?
It talks about the special event permitting ordinance.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That was not ready yet.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. It just,
I should have cleaned that out. Yes.
it got included in,
Yeah.
under
Yeah,
community
it was
power.
not. Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, you're talking about in the
Like cut and
package.
Pasted.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it didn't mean to be there.
Okay.
Yes,
Got it, all right,
Just like it's on a Wednesday meeting at 3:00.
yes.
yeah, so, all
It
right,
was late last night.
well, it's been a lot going on in for budget talks too.
Yeah.
So proposed B and V 30% final design proposal. So where are we?
My man, thank you, Dylan, for being here.
So where are we, Dylan?
So, looking at the proposed engineering sheet, keep in mind that that is not just for
There's one here.
going from where we left off with our previous consultant to the 30% of final design. That is them going back to the very beginning and doing all the legwork that they feel is necessary to make sure that basis of their design is adequate, and then moving into the preliminary of final design, so.
So we have the one sheet, or is it several sheets? I'm trying to dig it up now.
Just
No,
one.
you-
It was the
you
one
got
sheet,
One sheet.
the 1.34
The
The $1.4 million.
Right, we had distributed already to you the scope of work.
Right.
We've made the changes in the scope of work document that we requested with DES meetings.
Right.
We feel that the current draft scope of work does cover everything we need to have as the town, from the town's perspective, through the 30% final design. And it does, we already have credit from the state of completing the 30% basis of design
Right.
and 60%
Percent, right,
basis of design. They will review that, make any changes they feel
Correct.
are necessary. Get those reapproved by DES
right.
and then,
Go to the,
get us the
the 90%,
90%
right,
BOD.
which is where we had
Which
stopped,
is where we had stopped.
right?
And then they will take one more step
And the
beyond
30,
that
right,
to do the 30%
30%.
final design. And at the end of that,
Yeah.
we will,
that's essentially almost a biddable.
a
set of
biddable
plans.
set of
It's-
plans. We're gonna have
For
a
construction.
huge set of plans for construction.
Yeah.
So we will know the location. We will know what type of plant we're building
After this,
after this.
right.
And.
And we will
so-
have the usual, you guys will have your usual technical discussions with the engineers, and then we will have our discussions with you and with them going
have a-
forward
We have a,
on that,
we have a
yes,
68 step schedule
yes.
for for the next
With-
18
with
months.
up to, yeah, right.
With all
18
of
months
those
worth
are already programmed
into it,
with deadline dates
right?
and
One
So-
thing that I'm hoping for is that they incorporate all of their changes to the 30 and 60 into the 90% submittal. And that's something that Black and Beach wants to talk to the state about when we have our.
I see, instead of having to go back.
yeah, they
It would make
want to
sense.
just
Yeah.
give one report 90%. The problem is they're probably going to be a different type of plant and they're
Right.
going to be a different location.
Right.
So we have erred on the side of caution that the state would make them resubmit maybe the 60% BOD report.
Okay,
Put in an
um,
allowance in
we're not-
time.
We're not too worried about the state making us redo the 30% BOD report, but we do want a very thorough review of the information because that 30% level is all of the background data, the loading, the flow data,
Correct.
and they wanna look at our current operations in more detail,
Sure.
so. But I think that this price, when you compare it to the work contract that we had with our previous engineer, it's in line with the work that they're gonna do because they take that extra
Mhm.
step to go to the 30%.
So that's what I was gonna ask, if it's in line with. what
Yeah, I
we-
think it's in line. I mean, we had 600,
600.
650.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, that's one thing that we didn't factor in with the previous consultant as well was all of the money we were gonna spend on piloting as well.
Right.
right,
Right.
That was gonna be,
Right.
so that actually combined was gonna put that over the top of the Black and Beach number. And keep in mind, they're the fourth largest engineering firm in the world when it comes to water and wastewater. So I think what we're gonna gather from them as well is.
And we did talk to them about piloting because we're concerned about DES approval of a new
The
technology.
tertiary,
Well, it's tertiary treatment, but the whole plant.
yeah.
I
It's gotta
think
be
what they're
built
gonna,
around that.
what they're potentially gonna recommend is something that's not being used in New Hampshire, but it's being used in other cold climates and other mountainous. So Black and Beach is going into this with, you don't need to pilot. We have a whole bunch of data that's in
Already available.
similar climate
Right.
and settings to Waterville Valley. So we get some potential savings on that end.
Yeah, and they can show performance data directly from the facilities that are operating.
Right.
Already.
Yeah, so I think that this number is in line with
All right.
what we would have had to spend for HTA.
Do you need a vote from us
Yeah, I
on
do.
expending or,
For that number, I wrote
Alright.
in the memo, if you could accept the scope of work and basis of design report cost estimate and estimated engineering budget, and then authorize me to enter the contracts with this as the top or bottom line number, not to exceed this number.
I think for anybody watching, I think we were all very, very impressed with this firm.
Sure,
yes.
And we all
Absolutely.
feel very strongly that this is the right firm to be doing this work for us.
absolutely, yeah. And I'll go in, if I can, just take a second and just give you an update. We had the meeting with DES Solid Waste
Yeah.
today. That didn't.
on the transfer
On the
station,
transfer station, there
right,
were
related to this?
a lot of questions on DES's part. Black and Beach engineers were listened to the meeting. And after the meeting, we confirmed with them that they will take over the required changes that DES needs in the transfer station as well. It will be a separate contract from this because it's not in the scope of work.
Well, that
they-
was like a
They
previous
have
arrangement.
they have people that do transfer station designs that they can integrate with. So I think we'll move in that direction rather than continue to retain the current engineer.
Okay, so
because
move
it's
away
gonna
from
be- Yeah,
Good.
H&T and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
since we don't know where that's gonna end up.
well, and there were questions that were raised by DES today that we need to address with Black and Beach within the wastewater design.
Mhm.
So it'll be much easier if one firm is working.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yes, I,
Transfer station changes, at least everybody knows it'll be temporary. You know, for a
We-
couple of years,
Well,
or is this the final design for the transfer station?
those are the kind of questions that that we need to get answered. So when the new engineering firm comes on, if they change location of where the plant's gonna be built, or if they change the kind of plant, that may affect how long we stay in this location or where we end up putting the transfer station. So remember, we already had a fully developed plan and location and everything. That might change. But we don't know yet until we get Black and Veatch under contract.
Go back with the stuff.
Yeah.
What we have now
Mhm.
is acceptable to DES until we do the new one?
It is if we take a couple of steps that they identified today. So we will need to do additional work to stay here, but in concept, staying here, yes, they are okay with it.
And then you mentioned piloting these other, this, how long have they been in operation?
100
Not the
years.
company,
Oh.
Where there are other plants are that are,
I think that's gonna depend on which technologies we're referring to. Some of them 25 years.
Yeah, decades.
Some of them are
so we're
5
not
years.
inventing the wheel?
No.
I thought you said it was new technology.
No, it's
No,
new to
new,
what our-
new to us, new to the state
New
of
to
New
state.
Hampshire. And so the DES has said, if it isn't currently running in New Hampshire, they want it piloted so that they know it works.
Correct.
And what Black and Veatch is saying, where we are running this technology in these locations that match Waterville Valley, there's no need to pilot it. It works.
And these other locations are going to tertiary cleaning?
Yes, they-
A lot of them discharge very similar. City water says this.
One of their projects is Vail, Colorado,
Colorado,
putting the sewer, treated sewage back into the Gore River.
Yeah.
Gore Creek.
just like here.
Let's not let Snooden hear that.
Just like here. Yeah, so very similar.
The piloting is just the process to prove that it works.
Yeah, you actually you set up a
Mhm.
mini plant and you run it and show the state the results. Yeah.
Scaled version of technology.
Scaled version.
okay, so,
1 million, can we say the number just?
yes, I was gonna make the motion with the
Okay.
number, and then it sounds like we have to have a more in-depth discussion on the transfer station at some point, once you get a better handle with B&V
Yes,
on,
we will need to talk.
okay. So, I'd like to move that, that the board, accept the cost estimate from Black and Veatch of, $1,349,599. For the, let me get the right language here. The 30% final design proposal. And that we authorize the town manager to finalize and sign the engineering, this contract document. And the amount not to exceed the amount that I mentioned. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
you know what, and also, I'd like to just state that this money is part of the money we've already voted at
42
town meeting.
million,
Right.
So
yes,
this isn't anything additional
No.
to
Right.
what
It
we've already
isn't.
voted.
Right.
correct.
Thank you.
Bob. That's a good point.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty, and when do you think you'd like to have a discussion on the transfer station? Did get any idea from Black and Veatch? Be able
We'll
to look
talk
at
to
that.
Mario and we'll do it probably after the meeting on the 4th. So
Okay,
we'll talk about scheduling that
all right,
after the 4th
all
of
right.
January.
In the meantime, it
Because we
has
don't
no
need to-
impact on our current transfer operating.
No.
That's just, okay.
No.
All right, so I move on to septic system and a sewer line project
Yeah, I
update.
just wanted to, I've already given you an update, but not publicly at a meeting. We have met with the Forest Service. We're continuing to move forward. They did inform us that we will need to file a new project application called a Form 1 with the Forest Service to move away from the sewer line to the septic system design. And so we're starting that process. That's town staff and Hess Engineering, who's the design engineer, and the ski area will also be involved in that. And once we get an application together, we'll bring it to you for your review and comment. But it does set us back a little bit. We thought.
Right, we
would
have
be
already
able
passed
to-
that.
We thought we would be able to do it as part of maintenance of the ski area and just do a design, but they want a full-blown, and there may be some additional expense with an environmental review of some kind.
Right.
But we have to submit the Form 1 to get those decisions from the Forest Service.
So this is to save the cost of
Millions.
putting a sewer line that's estimated at $5 million. And instead
That would be comparable to the new plant.
doing a septic system that will alleviate the need to do a sewer line, spending $5 million.
Right, that's
Correct.
still the same issue, just having to deal with the Forest Service bureaucracy,
Yep.
basically.
So it'll take some additional time, but I would anticipate that if we can get to the small projects day in March, we will. If not, I think that they'll work with us offline and let us, continue to move forward. Construction in 24 is probably not like.
Right, but that's not an issue,
But that's not an issue
Right.
with our timeline.
current timeline, or what will be our new timeline.
Mhm.
Where is this septic system? What is it?
It would be up at the ski area somewhere. That's what we're working on, is the design, the location.
Right now, we're responsible for a sewer line from the ski area to here.
To here.
Which would cost us $5 million to,
Replace,
Replace it, yeah.
Or more.
so if we spend less than $2 million on a septic system up there, we save $3 million plus.
plus any
About
maintenance,
Future.
yeah,
Plus all the
future
future maintenance.
maintenance.
To go.
Plus future maintenance.
Well, and the Forest Service is. And just the bureaucracy is slowing things down. Everyone's in agreement.
And I think, at the start of the meeting, it was a little iffy, but I think by the end of the meeting, as long as we do the application the way they requested, I think we'll get support. It's just gonna be a matter of how much engineering time and the preparation of the environmental review and everything else that they're gonna make us go through. So
Okay.
it's just the typical
They
Forest
had-
Service
They
stuff.
had turnover that, that gave the start of the meeting a little bit of a.
Well, yeah, what happened, the person we were working with has retired and has been replaced, and there was a little bit of a lack of information transferred to the new people, so. The start of the meeting was a little interesting.
Okay. Let's move on to board concerns and directives. Anybody
Um,
have anything?
Yeah, I got a call just before the meeting from Ted Hammond. The contractor on the house. On the left going up Cascade Ridge. That he got notified just at about 5 o'clock by whoever's doing the cement work for that house. That they're trying to get it done in one day and they would need to start at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Versus the 8 o'clock typical start time. So I told him that he should have been calling the town, but we had a select board meeting tonight and we could talk about it, but. So they're basically he's asking for relief on the 8 o'clock time frame to be able to have the cement trucks come in at 6:30. I think as Rich and I talked about it just before this meeting, and since it's winter and most people have their windows closed. I don't know, I guess I'm okay with it, but I don't know,
And you live next door, so,
and I live next door, so.
which is why he called you, Yeah, Wendy, I mean, I hate to turn him away at this point. They're trying to get something done and.
I'll track him down again, Ted down again and tell him that, this isn't proper. He needs to be
Yeah.
getting in touch with the town way before
In
this time.
advance, yeah, more than 14 hours ahead of time.
As a practical thing, I don't know exactly how we'd stop the cement trucks at this point.
I would leave that to DPS. In any event, so the request is for a waiver to the noise ordinance to allow this construction activity to begin at 6:30 in the morning, vice the normal start
Instead of
time of 8. So based on what you said, I will second that. Is that a motion?
Yep.
I'll second it. Any comment, discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay,
I'll let DPS know.
right. Anything else for board concerns and directives? Nothing? Getting ready for the big week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see Craig has got his snow machines out there
Mhm.
doing his thing, so I guess he's expecting some sales. Great. Actually, there was a lot more traffic already coming into town. I noticed. I was coming back up
Yeah.
49 this afternoon. All right, correspondence.
Schools got out-
I'm sorry?
Schools got out today.
Oh, that's right,
For
last day of
most
school for so, yeah.
Yeah, I included the charter communications. I know it's way far out, but this can be a big type of project. And I guess, just think about it at this time, where we are they're looking for a decision, which probably we can give them sometime middle of next year. Which is, do we want to go through a full-blown renewal, or do we want to go through a simplified renewal? And
Or none at all. If we-
or none at all, yeah. So I've been through both kinds where we just simply got a new form and signed it. Or I've been through where we got a legal firm to review the documentation and an engineering firm that went out and actually inventoried their equipment and tested the lines to make sure that the upload and download speeds were correct. I mean, but
Excuse me, guys, Alan, could you guys take it? Sorry,
No, my apologies, sorry.
can't get the ear thing going here.
So again, no decision needs to be made now. It's not this year's budget, but it is something that if we want it, there are engineering firms and there are legal firms out there
And that's all in
that
our.
specialize this, but it would be at our cost.
So,
And
so putting it out to bid to other companies.
Yeah.
Would they have to duplicate the infrastructure that's in town? Is there a lot
they
to do?
either have to work it out with Charter to buy theirs and use it, or they have to duplicate it. We had multiple companies. Obviously, the city of Rochester was a very big system, so, and there were sections of town that one company did, and so we had multiple franchise agreements with people. But the advantage to the way we made them do all the engineering certification of speeds and everything else. That's the only way you can put that stuff in the franchise agreement, right? You can't just invent an upload and download speed, right? And put it in the agreement. You gotta measure what's out there and you gotta look at their equipment.
Well, and we're
And
gonna
then-
know that on a day right before Christmas, that 7 hours worth of potential credit card sales aren't lost in town square because they don't work.
So
That's what happened this morning. So it was great timing to
Yeah.
get that.
Well, there's been a lot of dissatisfaction with Spectrum.
Well,
Yeah.
there has, and so, again, it's just to start thinking about it. It is out there on the
Yeah, This
horizon.
would be a big decision because
And
the
it's a
impact
big
gonna have.
decision.
on
Yep.
both businesses and residents.
Yeah.
Are there other companies that would want to come out here?
When SkiSat turned it over to Spectrum, there were not.
Yeah,
There was,
Yeah,
no one
so-
else wanted,
yeah,
because,
that's the,
What about the
because
co-op?
SkiSat, I'm sorry.
What about the co-op? Are they?
Well, they
I know
have, they have new technology.
They're all over,
that-
they're starting to move.
And they are,
But
and,
They
you
have no
know,
plans to come up 49.
maybe
maybe they
not.
could be.
Maybe they could be. I don't know. Again, it's years out, but it is there. And I also would just caution that we just not simply send them an email and say, we're good to go. And when the time is there, we're just gonna sign an agreement.
No. we
I
don't
think
want
we
to.
need to
Right.
think about it
Right.
and
Yeah.
find out how much it would be, and maybe it's finding the law firm that works with this, because you're talking about federal regulations, and
Okay.
that's a whole new level of,
How long has this agreement been? 10 years?
15, I think.
Wow.
I'll have to look at the
And
history.
the other thing is, are we getting the proper compensation from them?
Well, and again, this is the kind of thing you
Mhm.
can write into the agreement. The way the agreement is right now, it's basically, we're counting on them to send us the share of their sales. There was never any wording in the agreement to do audits and,
Oh,
that kind of thing to confirm that the money they're sending us. And at the time, it was a pretty small system, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
There
to
must
put
be,
in
there must be somebody out there that's a consultant that,
There are,
that's
yeah.
dealt with all these companies and
Absolutely.
can give us
Mhm.
some advice.
yeah,
absolutely. And that's the kind of, if you want me to, sometime in 24, when we get
Yeah.
calmed down a little, we
Hopefully.
can move
Give it a couple of
forward.
years at that point.
Yeah.
Was it October 26th?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay,
All right,
Okay,
it's on the radar.
thank you. all I
That's it
have.
with correspondence.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so can I have a motion to move into non-public?
smooth.
Yep. All second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you,
I
Alan.
go out the door, little unclear. I am astounded the complexity of running in this town. I really thank all of you.
Well, thank you.
even me.
Yeah. Well,
Excellent job.
it's we got a great staff. We need to
No, yeah.
Yeah.
That it?
yeah, well, we got
We gotta
a
have-
non-public, so I'm still here.
I'll take him.
Yeah, don't worry about
I'll
it.
give them a ride home.